did we flip a coin? And who is Trevor coming up next? Yes. So let's welcome Trevor Carolan.
Thank you.
Well, we doubled the crowd.
Yeah, when you weren't looking.
Drawing them in, drawing them, and they must hear this outside.
Thank you for the invitation. It's always great to come back to my old hometown. I was just thinking while Candace was reading here, the longtime poet laureate. The first reading I ever attended in here was for Earl Burney when I was looking at becoming a young writer myself. So there's kind of a long tradition here, and as I've always mentioned, it's great to be amidst these paintings by Joe Plaska. When I was growing up, he was our hometown art hero, and he still is. God bless him. I'd like to read a few newer ones and maybe a couple from other books, but before I do, I'd like to read one. It's not one of my poems, but it's from, it's the epigraph really for a new book I had out in the fall from New York University Press. It's called New World Dharma, and it's actually nonfiction. These were interviews I did over 25 years with a lot of Buddhist leaders. Some of them you would know, and many of them Buddhist writers. But the epigraphs from Gary Lawless. I had a nice little piece from Allen Ginsberg, my old teacher, but the publisher asked if I'd get a permission for these 4 short lines, about 18 words, and I made the fatal mistake of asking a bunch of New York literary agents for permission, and by the time they finished, I called up and I called another friend up instead, and I said, how about something from you? It made it simpler. So I don't know what Allen, I said to one of them actually one morning, the guy called up about 6:45 our time, trying to dun me to sign a contract, and I said, did you ever actually meet Allen Ginsberg? I said, have you ever thought what he might think of all this? Right? Because the cost of this was going up more than any poem Allen had ever been paid for, I think. I let it go. This is from Gary Lawless, who's a fine poet from Maine. Every stump is sacred, every stump a saint, every silted river a church to which the pilgrim salmon return, every breath of wind a love song. We worship in the wetlands, bow to the fern, the rock, the holy salamander, the blood of sweet water, the body of moss. But maybe you don't need to clap, in fact. If there's anything at the end that you might have appreciated. I'd like to read a few newer ones. We've just had the celebration of the Vimy Ridge event, and 2 years ago I made the pilgrimage to Vimy Ridge because my grandfather served with the British forces, but he fought at the Somme, and it was the anniversary of the Somme. So I went there. I like Candace. I do go to France quite often. I usually go every summer. And we went with my wife and I with some French friends that we stay with. And of course, it's terribly overpowering to get to Vimy Ridge. Oddly enough, I had my Vimy Ridge poems in a book that I read at the New Westminster Literary Arts Festival last year. That I went into the festival with it, but I came out without that book. I don't know what happened to it. So my actual Vimy Ridge poems are somewhere in New Westminster. But I do have this one poem, The Canadian War Dead at Calais. En route to Lille, looking outside these compartment windows, I think of the war dead beyond Calais, these stone-built towns where the wounded of that war, still called great, passed on their way to the meadows, their graves. Red poppies grow in the hedgerows, oddly in season, as we ourselves pass on in my grandfather's footsteps toward Courcelette, where he went over the top and into the guns, a bayonet charge. Then house to house down the wrecked village street until they held it. Saturday morning, a small brown street. That bar tabac there on the corner, this is where the mailbags arrived, used from their mothers, a girl back home. Who is the mayor now? What memories remain here of that mud, blood, of the metal shards that turn up in harrow teeth every tilling time in May?